In Kazakhstan, the craft developed over the centuries, leaving a legacy of unique products of artisans, amazing wealth of artistic imagination, and the perfection of form. A respect for one's heritage, traditional cultural values, these are the main tasks of the current generation. The history of folk crafts is a record of creative research and the discoveries of folk artists. The art of the Kazakh people, their national traits and traditions, were formed and perfected for centuries. Folk art stores in itself a historical memory and national heritage. Masters of folk art have bit by bit collected and continue to collect the experience of previous generations, multiplying them and transferring their skills from one generation to the next. The development of folk arts and crafts provides an opportunity to talk about the high professionalism of the artists. Today, these allow preserving and enriching of the original features of national art and proceed with its development. Products of folk artists become a kind of aesthetic sign of culture and art of the entire nation. We were lucky enough to look into the workshop and immerse ourselves in the world of imagination and creativity of the original artist, Quarterman Ghazi. In his unique products, he embodies the cultural heritage of his ancestors, his attitude and sense of beauty. He skillfully combines natural materials such as leather and metal with wood and animal bone. But the peculiarity of his works and their uniqueness lies in the fact that in them he uses sheep bones that are part of the national Kazakh tradition. According to the master himself, without a deep understanding of history and customs of his people, it is impossible to create a profound work in terms of content and national in terms of works of art. The works have their own space, history, and natural character. They emphasize the traditional lifestyle that the material and spiritual world of the Kazakh people represents. The character of his work abounds with mythological symbols, petroglyphs, imagery of animals and people. The artist Quarterman Ghazi seems to talk with us using his unique language through colorful and plastic images, dimensional and spatial forms, sculptures and drawings. Quarterman Ghazi was born in the Kizlordar region. He graduated from the Institute of Painting and Graphics and became the leading architect of the district. He is a member of the Union of Artists and the Union of Designers of Kazakhstan. A number of works by the artist are held in private collections. His works were exhibited many times at exhibitions and won honorable awards. All of his work is inextricably linked with the ancient artistic traditions of nomads. He uses ancient techniques for processing wood and metal, carving stones and bones, embossing and applying applications on the skin. His work is multifaceted. He is well versed in graphics and painting pictures and creating artistic wall panels. He also realizes himself as a sculptor, creating large voluminous compositions of stone and small sculptural forms. The master believes that the new is born out of traditional basis, and inspiration should be sought in the heritage that we inherited from our ancestors. His work is easily recognizable because it stands out with its original style of the artist. With the help of skin, wood, and animal bone, he creates a whole new world in which the past flows into the future. In his works, whether it be sculptures, paintings, or panels, he emotionally reveals the exciting themes and emphasizes the national ornaments and colors with the help of form and color. We found the artist at work. He is just completing a three-dimensional sculptural composition. Initially, Quarterman Ghazi creates large compositions from foam block, and only then it is made of solid granite. After all, in the process of working on a sculpture, the master can change the original sketch and bring something new to it. The work is coming to an end, which means that Quarterman Ghazi is again plunged into new creative meditations. In search of inspiration, he turns to his own works, leafing through notebooks and books and albums, where he draws his sketches, drawings, or ornaments. These sketches always give impetus to the creation of his future creations. Quarterman Ghazi reads a lot, and it helps him to constantly accumulate new ideas, symbols, or images. Sometimes the ideas come to him unexpectedly. They seem to stand in front of his eyes, and then he takes out a sheet of paper and tries to paint everything. Quarterman Ghazi has shared with us that considering his drawings and previous sketches, he sort of touches upon an idea. Something inspires him by the most ordinary things that surround him every day. And then inspiration came to the master, an idea arose, and he realized what would be his next creation. He draws a sketch, and now like beads he will collect them in one string. The master will still spend a lot of effort finalizing and polishing his idea. Quarterman Ghazi starts his work. He carefully chooses the main element of the composition. This will be the femur of the sheep, the jambas. Everything is important, the form and color and texture. When he finds the right bone, he proceeds to the next stage. It is interesting that the look of the future product is not constant and can change in the process of its implementation in the material. Changes can be up to a complete rethinking of the image and form. Then the artist says that the creation is born of its own, and he is only the hands that help to shape the idea. In general, artwork with bone is a kind of ancient folk decorative art of Kazakh people. The bone is beautiful, strong, is easily cut and perfectly polished. Quarterman Ghazi is the first to develop this new direction in art, transferring the symbolic forms of a sheep bone into sculpture. The selected femur is sketched on a piece of paper, making a sketch. It changes in proportions, increases in size, draws and slightly distorts the shape while achieving optimal harmony. The honoring of bones goes to the deep historical past, the origins of which were associated with the early forms of religion, totemism, funeral cults, and shamanism. And up to now, the tradition has been preserved. When presenting a dish of meat, each guest and a member of the family is relied on their own part of the ram. It is not for nothing that the people's sayings have been formed by immemorial time. May our friendship be inseparable, like shoulder blades. Or, be a leader for your people. The host says to the guest of honor, giving him a sheep's head. It is for the Dastarhan that the ties of friendship and brotherhood with the house become even stronger, where they would be received and be treated with honor. This is the secret of the operation of this tradition in the unity of the Kazakh nomadic society. The main task for Quarterman Ghazi is the accessibility and simplicity in understanding of his compositions. He always seeks that, embedded through his ideas, the thought should be understood by anyone who looks at his work. The master embodies in the plastic material plasticine desires of the ideal spatial model of the bone. In the process of work, it slightly deviates from the correct anatomical shape. This is done solely for beauty and the harmony of the future sculpture. On a special stand, centimeter by centimeter, the master sculpts the symbolic image, a jambas. He carefully studies the details, achieving the desired shape. Creating a voluminous sculpture is a difficult job. It requires certain skills that are only acquired as a result of many years of painstaking work. With the help of a tin plate, the artist delimits the workout. To perform the next step, the master will need to dilute the gypsum solution. Interestingly, dry powder of gypsum must be poured into water and not vice versa. The powder is thoroughly mixed until a homogeneous mass is obtained. It is important to apply a liquid petroleum to the plasticine bank. This will not allow the gypsum to stick firmly to the base. And only after that, Quarterman Ghazi stirs the mixture, adding a thick mixture, and leaves it to dry. When the plaster dries well, the master carefully removes it and receives the mold blanks. They are gathered back, fastened, and filled with liquid petroleum, and then molten bronze. metal cools down, the plaster forms are removed. Now you need to thoroughly polish the metal, and that's how you get a decorative bronze sculpture. Quarterman Ghazi is one of the few masters who works in different directions and styles. The artist's work includes paintings painted in oil paints and wall panels made of leather, wood, and bone. It's sculptures made of metal and stone. The variety of forms, plasticity, and color scale in natural tones give his works a kind of fascinating beauty. In his works, Quarterman Ghazi uses a variety of techniques, adhering to the ancient traditions of the masters. His works are original. It is surprising how he can so finely combine different materials among themselves, combining different styles, and mixing even different directions in art. This master can rightly be called multifaceted and versatile. If you look at his oil paintings, then it seems that his canvases tell you a story. They say something about the sad and tragic events, and others about happy days. But all of these pictures are permeated with the spirit of their native land, green trees and grazing cattle, the daily life of a nomad. Often on canvases with the help of various techniques and colors, Quarterman Ghazi conveys the character of the Kazakh land with its endless struggle for life and faith, for the greatness of the people. The works of modern masters reflect the real world and carry in themselves the frozen forms of the past. Creativity generates more creativity, and if we touch it more and more often, our lives will also play with more vivid colors. We will be filled and enriched spiritually. The main types of folk decorative art of Kazakhs since ancient times are the artistic processing of wood and metal, carving in stone and bones, embroidery, embossing, and applique on the skin. The master craftsmen are creators and bearers of folk culture. They perceive, comprehend, and transform it in their works. In the next program, we will talk about one of these amazing masters who has been doing his favorite work for many years. He creates national musical instruments, helping them to find their unique sound.